Hey, Matt.
Hey, Tommy, how are you doing?
Good, good, good. Just sitting here, enjoying the weather.
Enjoying the. Where are you right now?
Los Angeles.
Ah, California.
Yeah.
I guess that would probably be the only place for you.
No. I like going places, but I definitely like living here.
I was just thinking more of the legalized, well, pretty much legalized.
Oh, yeah. Well, British Columbia is pretty legal too.
Well, yeah, not as I guess officially though.
Well, no one officially even here. It's just that it's really a don't ask, don't tell policy.
Yeah, well, hey, I was walking down Venice Beach. I have nothing wrong with me, and I was offered 30 licenses in the span of 5 minutes.
Oh, easy. Yeah. I mean, that's what dealers do when they have to do it.
Fair enough. And we'll talk all about that in a little bit, but I want to, because you guys are playing a show Saturday here at the River Cree. For those who know you as, the activist, the movie star, That 70s Show, what is a Cheech and Chong show like in person?
Well, Cheech and Chong, we go back with when we had records, back in the dinosaur days. We had records. There were black vinyl things that you played on a machine that really don't exist anymore.
They're coming back a little bit, though.
Yeah. Well, the DJs use them,
right?
But we've been together. We were together like 15 years from 1969 on through to '85, and then we broke up, and now we're back, and this is our second tour. We've been out once already, 1 year already, and then this is our last tour, and so we decided to do bits that everybody asks us to do, and we've never done. They request Dave's Not Here, Santa Claus and His Old Lady, and Harry Palms, the world's masturbation champion. And so there's a lot of it's just crazy Cheech and Chong humor. That's what the show's all about.
But you guys played music too, right?
Oh yeah, and it's funny songs, Basketball Jones, and hits that we had. I think we're one of the only comedy group that had like bona fide hits, original hit songs, and me and my old lady, we do that one in the new show, and the Earache My Eye, our big hit, was co-written by Gay DeLorme, who was an Edmonton native.
Well, as are you not?
Yeah, well, I was born in Edmonton, but I was kind of raised in Calgary, and I grew up. And I moved to Vancouver, so I'm a Canadian for sure.
Mm-hmm. What did moving to Vancouver do for you? How did that get you into showbiz? Because I'm assuming that's where it would have started.
Well, actually, it started in Calgary.
Oh.
But we got kicked out of Calgary by the mayor and by the chief of police.
Who's we?
The group called the Shades, the Calgary Shades.
Okay.
And we had a teen club. It was amazing, Back there, I was sort of an activist, even when I was a kid. And I formed a teen club. And it was really a clever way to get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, what is a teen club? What do you mean by that?
Well, a teen club, it was like a nonprofit organization where it was formed by the Boys Clubs of America to promote teen activities. Which in our case was dancing. And so when the dances got really, the dances themselves weren't rowdy. It was that the kids would gather at our dance, and then after the dance was over, they would go terrorize the city.
Of course.
And they would go to where girls were babysitting, and there'd be maybe 100 of them show up and tear the house apart, that kind of stuff, that kind of activities. And so the police were trying to shut us down. But they couldn't shut down the teen club because we're a chartered club. They'd have to go to court and they'd have to show cause, why we were a threat, and we weren't. So what the city did, they did the next best thing. They ran the band out of town. They just told us, you better leave town. And if you don't leave town, we'll make you wish you had of. And so we had to leave town, and so we did. Went to Vancouver, and Vancouver, that's where I got my street cred from.
And you brought Ike and Tina to Vancouver, is that right? Yeah,
we did. We had another club there called the Blues Palace, and we opened it with Ike and Tina Turner on a Tuesday night, and we got the whole review for $750. It was incredible.
You were a serious musician back then.
Yeah, I still am, but I was I found out that I'm a better comedian than I am a guitar player.
Well, you say you
But
still are. How come you don't put out records then? Or do you?
well,
And people just don't know about them.
first of all, there's no records to be
Yeah.
put out.
Okay. MP3
And
singles.
and no, I'm a comedian that can play guitar. That's what I like to bill myself as.
Okay.
There are a lot of good. There's too much good music out there now for me to come in there. Although I am flirting with the idea now of doing my music like an art project.
Oh,
Because
interesting.
I'm also an artist too, and
What kind of art? Painting, sculpting?
everything:
Oh, okay.
sculpting, painting, and photographs. More. I lean on the photographs. Although I'm getting into painting because I love it. It's easy.
I hear it's
And-
very therapeutic too.
Oh, incredible. Oh, yeah. What it does, it gives you things to do while you're really high.
Yes, of course. And we'll get to that. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the heyday of your music career because you knew everybody.
Yes, I got to meet everybody. I think one of my biggest accomplishments was sitting almost on top of Wes Montgomery's guitar amp.
Mm-hmm.
And he played in a club in Vancouver where everybody was passed out except me and I think the waitress. And Wes had to play another set. And so he literally played the set for me because I was the only guy that was still standing. Everybody else was kind of like, a lot of junkies in Vancouver. And so it was really late at night, and it was his last set. And I sat, and he played a whole hour with me sitting right in front of him and talking in between songs. So I got a guitar lesson and a concert from Wes Montgomery.
How did that evolve into Cheech and Chong? How did music and I guess evolve into comedy?
Well, my first band was mostly black guys from Calgary. Bernie Sneed, Tommy Milton, and we. The black culture was very small, but great in Calgary. There's a lot of dancing. We went to dances a lot. That's how I met him. I was a dancer, jive, that Lindy Hop kind of dancer. And I had a black girl partner, Edie Walton, and we were dancing, winning dance contests. And then Tommy Milton, the football player, he was a football star at the time for the Bronx, and he was going to go on and play pro, but he hurt his knee. He was a singer, and so he found out I played guitar, and so we hooked up, and we put a band together. It was the first R&B, rhythm and blues band in Alberta, and probably in Canada. And we played music that no one heard in Calgary or Edmonton before. It was called race music at the time. It was Bo Diddley and
yeah. What year was this?
It was back in 55, 56.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 55, 56. And then we had a band. By 57, we had a band. And then we got run out of town in 58. And we spent the rest of the time in Vancouver, practicing, doing our band. We were a show band more than a dance band.
Mm-hmm.
Like we did tricks, like Tommy could do the splits and flips, and we danced around, and I played the guitar behind my back, and Bernie put his foot up on the piano like Little Richard, and all those crazy show stuff. And so our music, and that's how I got into comedy, because with the black guys, the white guys were always serious. They were always looking either to eat or to fight. They were like there was always, they took everything serious. The black guys were always about laughing and fun and dancing, and they could fight, but they didn't like to fight because they were like, most of them, like Tommy was a trained boxer, so he, legally he couldn't fight.
Right.
And Bernie was a bodybuilder, and it was a fun band, but we just laughed all the time. And laughed at each other, and that's how we dealt with the racial trips. Like if someone came down on us because of our color or our ethnicity, we would laugh. It would be funny,
Mm-hmm.
And I just, when Cheech and I got together, I just transferred that what I learned as a blues musician into stage, and it just worked out great.
How did you meet him?
Cheech was up in Canada during the Vietnam War. Now, a lot of people would say he was a draft dodger, but he was really up there. He was part of a secret army that was up there just in case the Viet Cong attacked from Alaska.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, the secret army hung out in bars a lot. And I had a topless bar where I was doing comedy. I turned a topless nightclub into a improvisational nightclub with the girls getting naked, at the end of for the joke. And
hilarious joke.
And I had a straight man, but his wife, I hired real actors because they're just so inexpensive, and they. And then the wife of one actor found out what he was doing, and she made him quit because she was a church-going lady.
Oh, yeah. She
didn't want him around all these naked women. And so I was looking for a straight man, and a mutual friend suggested this little Chicano, and along come Cheech. And at the time, I didn't know what a Mexican was, He was the first Mexican I'd ever met,
How did the act become so weed-centric?
The audience. When we first got together, we did a lot of ass jokes and a lot of sex jokes, and because we had to entertain bikers and that kind of crowd. And then we came down to L.A. and everybody was it was the '60s, and everybody was into smoking weed, and Woodstock had just happened, and Hendrix was happening, so. So it was just natural that we started doing bits, about weed. It really started when Cheech discovered the lowrider character.
Mm-hmm.
We were in a club one night, and it was a dance club. And so the dancers weren't that happy that we were going to stop them from dancing so we could do our show. And so we never had that receptive audience we were used to. And so we had to work, and we had to do 2 shows in that one night. And so the second show, I was talking to Cheech. I said, "Come on, man, you're from here. There must be a character we can do that these people, go crazy over." And he said, "Well, there's one, but he was a little hesitant to do it." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, it's kind of detrimental to the to the Mexicans." And I said, "Well, that's our job, man." And so he did that lowrider, and it just changed it became our signature bit. And it was about lowrider getting high with a hippie, an old stoner hippie, and that just took off, and that became our centerpiece. From that point on, that was our identity.
What has impressed me most, we've been talking about 10 minutes now, your memory, considering everything I hear about how weed affects the memory, your memory is still dead on.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, I'll forget. I'll meet someone one day and I'll forget them the next morning.
Right, but I think that's most people.
But I can I can recall. Well, everything that happened to us was so special. It was so monumental. I mean, like I played with Hendrix.
You played with Hendrix?
Yeah, he came and sat in. We had a band. When I was with Motown, we went to England to back up Chris Clark, this female singer, girlfriend of Berry Gordy's.
Huh.
And while we were there, we played a set on our own in this little club, and the club was empty. Speakeasy was called, and the club was empty. And then the doors opened, and in come Hendrix, and he had about maybe 100 people behind him. Follow. He was like the Pied Piper. And he walked in, and he walked up to the stage, and he said, "Hey, Tom," and like he knew me from Seattle. Like I didn't know it at the time, but he would come up from Seattle to Vancouver to hear our band. And yeah, he was a paratrooper at one time and in the service, and so he knew us. And so he said, "Hey, do you mind if I sit in?" And this is Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. "Do you mind if I sit in?" And I just had the urge, like in Vancouver. We used to tell the guys that wanted to sit in, maybe the next set, the last set. I felt like saying, "Sure, Jim, but the last set."
You can come in the encore if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. But of course, I handed him my guitar, and he's a left-handed guitar player, so he said, "Let me play bass," and so he played bass instead. And so I actually played guitar with Hendrix playing bass.
That's insane.
It was my backup. "Come on, Jimmy." Yeah. It's an E.
Drive it a little harder, bud.
Yeah. Come on, a little louder. Can't hear you. Oh, we had fun, and then I met all sorts of people. In my career, I just been blessed. I just really blessed.
Were you ever nervous about being a poster boy for marijuana? Did it ever scare you? I guess in recent years it's kind of done some things, but
opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I purposely wanted to become a poster boy for marijuana, simply because I know I'm right.
What do you mean when you say you're right? What, for people who need to hear you say it, what do you mean?
Well, years. The marijuana laws was a racist law in the beginning. First of all, the Constitution of the United States was written by potheads, and they wrote it in such a way that you weren't supposed to make marijuana illegal. It was a crop that you had to grow it. Everybody was told to grow hemp, and which is pot.
Mm.
And so when they come up with this stupid law in the 30s, my birthday, by the way, 38, what they were trying to do was get it off the market so that the petroleum companies, the chemical companies, could take over the rope and fabric industry.
Interesting.
Which they subsequently did. Canvas gets his name from cannabis. That's where the word canvas came from. Because canvas was made by the cannabis plant.
Right.
The blue jeans were made from hemp. Rope, all the rope in the navies around the world. Rope was more important back in those days than oil.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Everything was under sail. And so you needed hemp for the sails, you needed hemp for the rope. And so the oil companies in that, they were coming up with this fabric and this rope that was inferior, but they couldn't compete with hemp. And so Hearst also wanted hemp off the market because his newspapers were using forest, blocks of forest that he owned, and hemp made the best paper. Always did, always will. And everything was written on. The first Bible was written on hemp. The first the Constitution was written on hemp. It was a perfect product. And so they wanted to demonize it. And so when they found a way to demonize it using the marijuana, using the Mexican term for hemp, marijuana, then they could demonize it. They could play the race card, saying that hemp or marijuana made black guys horny for white women. And they used the same line with cocaine and heroin. To make those drugs illegal. Same racist fears. And this is back in the 30s, when it was illegal to be black.
Yeah, basically.
And so that's why it got illegal. Now, once something is made illegal, and then society sort of forms like a wound, they sort of form the callus around the wound. It's very, very tough to change that law because racism still exists in America, big time. It's gone down, but it's still there.
No, it's still there, that's for sure.
Yeah, and so it was a perfect hemp or marijuana was a perfect scapegoat for right-wing ideology, these guys that want to start wars, and so that's why the hippies, they would protest the Vietnam War, for instance, and they would be the pot-smoking hippies.
Mm-hmm.
And so they demonized it that way. And Canada is one of the worst, for demonizing people, because they follow the United States lead.
Yeah. We almost had it. Had it. Our last prime minister.
Chrétien.
Yeah, I read a quote of him saying he can't wait for the day when he's old and retired and gets to smoke a joint in his balcony.
Yeah. No. Everybody that retires, everybody smokes it. But it's a political bomb, Like Jerry Brown in California, he was the one that decriminalized it to the point where it was just a misdemeanor to have pot. And now he's the governor of California, and before that, the attorney general of California, and he was against legalization because it's a political suicide if you go for it.
What do you think the right answer is to decriminalize or legalize?
To leave it alone. Just decriminalize it. Just leave it alone. It's a weed. You can't control it.
And then what? Tax it and make money and sell it in stores like they do alcohol?
Well, no. The thing is, you get your taxes from the effects of pot. Like, I don't know if you've ever gone shopping high, but you will buy anything.
Yeah.
You will consume. You'll eat. You know what I mean. You'll hear a record. You'll have to buy it. So there's many positive aspects of it. No, leave it alone. First of all, it's a medicine. It's a proven medicine from China. 5,000 years, they've been using it as a medicine in China and India and all the places where they have civilizations been around forever. It's a medicine, and treat it as a medicine. If someone comes up with a cute package and they want to sell it commercially and you can get your business tax, so be it. But save your money on the law enforcement savings and the jails. That's where you save money. Because right now they're spending billions of dollars building new jails and putting people in jail and taking them off the streets and, and forcing them on welfare, all that stuff, So leave it alone. It's a weed,
Do you think?
And treat it like it is.
Do you think it should just be pot that's decriminalized, or more drugs?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you really want to, be civilized, you do what they do in other countries. Like where they tried, having say a heroin situation, like in Amsterdam and in Spain, and so in some respects, Canada. Canada has needle exchange, but it's still, the heroin problem is very sad because it's like the cigarette problem. It's an addiction that you cannot break. It's very hard. Alcoholism is a real drain on society and on cultures.
You don't think there's any addiction to marijuana?
There's what they call psychological addiction.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's more addiction to sugar than there is to marijuana. There's more addiction to salt. There's more addiction to running.
Yeah.
People have to get up and run in the middle of winter. There's more addiction to adrenaline. Like that's what gambling is. Gambling is an adrenaline addiction. No, marijuana is a medicine. There are people that have to go to clinics to get rid of their marijuana habit, but they're in and out so fast. It's a joke because it can be out of your system, a week. Like I was in jail, and I was going to
say, what's the longest you've gone?
I've gone 3 years without.
Okay, now or in the past?
In the past, I went through. The year I got busted, and then so that year it took a year for me to go to court and everything, and then the year or 9 months I was in jail. I never smoked, and then a year after that I never smoked.
How come you didn't want to when you came out? Were you scared?
Well, I was on
probation.
Back? I was on probation, and if I had violated the drug test, they drug tested me every time I went in for my meeting, and if I had violated it, I'd have to go back to jail for a year. No. It was, and I wanted to make a point. I wanted to prove that, Hey, and I flourished, by the way. When I quit, it was good. It was good. It was good for me.
So how come I assume you're back on it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
So when you say you flourished, how come you don't want to continue flourishing that way?
Well, because I can still live the lifestyle. In fact, I can flourish even more. You flourish in jail. You don't want. Personally, you don't want to be. Me anyway. Personally, I wanted to be aware of everything that went on in jail. Because I'm a writer. I used it as a retreat. Basically, religious retreat. I got into a lot of spiritual books, and I studied, like the Sweat Lodge of the Lakota Sioux.
Right.
Studied metaphysics with, with different guys, Emmett Fox, Joel Goldsmith, and when you're into that world, it's best that you are totally clear of everything. And then, but once I got out. And I got into my art, and it was like, whoa, here we go. This is fun. Hold on just a minute.
Yeah.
I got a call.
So I'll just wrap it up. We do something on the show called 5 Questions, 5 quick questions, 1-word answers.
Okay, gotcha.
What do you prefer, acting or stand-up?
Stand-up.
Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon.
What's more important in comedy, timing or the punchline?
Timing.
Your favorite term for marijuana?
Chonger.
Chong. Well, I guess it's named after you. Why couldn't it be? And in one word, Tommy Chong.
Chinaman.